Watch what happens when a king leaves his throne for a month. The kingdom doesn't collapse. Something else happens. People start talking. Rumors spread. His name shows up in every conversation. His absence becomes louder than his presence. Now look at the king who sits on his throne every day. Always there, always visible, always available. People stop noticing him. He becomes ordinary. This is the power paradox Machiavelli understood. When you are always visible, people stop valuing you. When you disappear, people pay attention. You think being present makes you important. It doesn't. It makes you expected, predictable, easy to ignore, but your absence forces people to remember you. Machiavelli said it clearly. People value what is hard to get, not what is always in front of them. Here's the truth. You've been playing the game wrong. You thought being seen created power. You thought being accessible created respect. You thought constant engagement made you matter, but it made you background noise. When you pull back, something shifts. People start wondering. Human attention changes. Your value increases because scarcity creates worth. Say it. Absence creates power. Society wants you to be always online, replying, posting, reacting, because the more visible you are, the easier you are to control. When you're predictable, you have no power. People use you without noticing. The rule is simple. Too much availability destroys value. Scarcity builds it. This isn't about relationships or playing games. This is a basic law of power. When you're everywhere, you become invisible. When you speak non-stop, no one listens. When you're always available, people take you for granted. But strategic withdrawal is different. It shows your presence has weight. It shows your time must be earned, not assumed. Most people will never understand this. They fear being forgotten. They think disappearing is weakness. But disappearing increases your value. Withdrawal is not running away. It is a psychological tool. A way to stop playing by rules that keep you powerless. Now, here's the first principle. 1. The power of withdrawal. When people lose access to you, they feel a quiet kind of panic. They check their messages, they wonder why you haven't replied, they start questioning themselves. Human minds hate broken patterns. Your presence was a pattern. Your replies were expected. And when you suddenly stop, their mind cannot handle the uncertainty. That is the real power of absence. It doesn't make you forgotten. It makes you unforgettable. When you disappear, something powerful happens. You become the only thing people think about. The brain doesn't focus on what it already has. It becomes obsessed with what it lost. You were never more present than the moment you vanished. Machiavelli said, "The first method to judge a ruler is by the people around him." But there's a deeper idea hidden in his work. Smart rulers know when to be absent. They understand that being seen all the time makes you ordinary. Being rarely seen makes you unforgettable. Look at every powerful person in history. They weren't powerful because they were always available. They were powerful because reaching them was difficult. Their time was protected. Their presence was rare. Access to them felt like a reward. But you? You've been the opposite. Always reachable. Always responding. Always ready whenever someone calls. And what did that create? Comfort, familiarity, the belief that you will always be there. Withdrawal breaks that belief. It creates distance, it introduces doubt. It forces people to realize that maybe you won't always be available, maybe you have limits, maybe you're not as easy to control as they assumed. This makes people uncomfortable. And that's good. Discomfort makes people reevaluate your value. When you're always around, you become part of the background, something people walk past without noticing. But absence destroys the illusion that you'll always show up. It reminds them that your presence is a choice, that you can leave. And that thought scares them more than they admit. Silent withdrawal is a powerful message. It speaks without words. It says something has changed. It shows you're no longer playing by the old rules. It signals that access to you now has conditions they don't fully understand. They start analyzing everything. Did they say something wrong? Are you ignoring them? Are you gone for everyone or just for them? All this mental energy circles around you. the person who is no longer there. This is the power of stepping back. You become more influential in your absence than you ever were in your presence. Write this in the comments. Silence breaks illusions. Now let's move to Principle 2, the illusion of constant availability. Since childhood, you were trained to believe that being available makes you good, answer when called, show up when needed, never say no, but this mindset takes your power away. You were taught to always be there for everyone, help immediately, never make anyone wait. But in that training, you learned something dangerous. You learned to abandon yourself. Because constant availability isn't kindness, it's self-destruction. It sends the message that your time has no value, that your energy is endless, that your life exists to serve anyone who wants something from you. This is how people are trained to obey. They make you believe that having boundaries is wrong. That saying no means you're selfish, that protecting your time means you don't care. It's a trap, and you walked into it. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you lose a piece of yourself. Every time you stay available when you need rest, you teach people that your needs don't matter. Every time you reply instantly, you show them your attention is cheap. This isn't about becoming cold. It's about realizing that unlimited availability is a form of psychological slavery. Machiavelli said, "Men are simple and driven by immediate needs, so a deceiver will always find victims." You were the victim. The need was someone else's. The deception was that helping them instantly made you valuable. But it didn't. It didn't make you valuable. It made you useful. And there is a big difference. Useful people get used. Valuable people get respected. When you're always available, people see you like a tool, something they pick up when they need it and drop when they don't. No one thinks about tools. They just use them. But when you become less available, when access to you has limits, when your time isn't free, you stop being a tool. You become someone people must consider, think about, and respect. This shift doesn't happen because you announce it. It happens because you live it. You stop answering every call. You stop replying the second someone messages you. You stop destroying your schedule to fit everyone else. And suddenly, your time has value. Here's the truth people never tell you. Saying yes all the time doesn't make people like you more. It makes them respect you less. Because everyone knows this. People with no boundaries get walked on. People who never say no don't value themselves. People who stand for nothing fall for everything. You thought being available made you important, but it made you invisible. Important people are hard to reach. Important people protect their time. Important people understand that scarcity creates value. Your aura, that silent power that makes people take you seriously, weakens every time you make yourself too available. Every instant reply, every dropped plan, every moment you put others before yourself without them earning it. That's not generosity, that's losing yourself. That's not generosity, that's self-abandonment. And the worst part, people don't even value what you give. They expect it. They assume it. And when you finally can't deliver what you gave freely, they get annoyed. This is the truth of constant availability. It doesn't create gratitude, it creates entitlement. Breaking this pattern requires something difficult, disappointing people, letting messages sit, not showing up every time, creating space where you used to be constantly present. At first, it feels wrong. You'll feel guilty, you'll worry people think you've changed, you'll wonder if you're being selfish. You're not, you're being healthy. Because the alternative is giving your entire life to other people's needs while your own life goes unfulfilled. The alternative is being someone everyone can count on while you can't count on yourself. The alternative is reaching the end of your life and realizing you are available to everyone, except the one person who needed you most. You? Say this: no is self-preservation. 3. Persona versus individuation. There are two versions of you. First, the mask, the persona you built to survive. The one that smiles at the right time, says the right things, fits into the expectations around you. This version exists to be accepted. But it isn't the real you, it's a performance. Second, the real self, raw, honest, unfiltered. This version has been buried for years because being real once brought pain, judgment, rejection, loneliness. So you hid. And the mask became so natural that you forgot it was a mask. This process of uncovering the real self is called individuation, becoming who you truly are instead of who the world told you to be. It is the death of the false self and the birth of the authentic one. And it requires something most people never do, disappearing from the world that created the mask. Machiavelli said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." He understood that the persona is useful for survival, but dangerous when it becomes your whole identity. Because when you live behind a mask too long, you lose yourself. You become a reflection of other people's expectations. Your decisions stop being yours. You become predictable, safe, controlled. And safety is the death of power. Individuation is dangerous because it means rejecting the role society assigned you. It means questioning everything you were taught. It means standing alone while others choose comfort over truth. Most people can't handle that. They'd rather wear the mask forever than face the fear of discovering who they really are. But you're not most people. Strategic disappearance is the first step to destroying the persona. When you withdraw from expectations, when you stop performing, the mask begins to crack. It's scary because without it, you feel exposed. But that fear is the doorway to freedom. In solitude, away from noise, pressure, and roles, you finally meet the real you. Not the version built to be liked, the version beneath the conditioning. This version is sharp. It doesn't apologize. It doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. It doesn't care about acceptance from people who only accept masks anyway. This version cannot be controlled, and that's the point. When you break away from society's approval, when you stop needing permission to exist, when you're willing to stand outside the box people built for you, you become dangerous, not violent. Dangerous because you cannot be controlled by the systems that depend on your obedience. The system depends on everyone fitting in, everyone staying in their roles, everyone too scared of rejection to break free. But when you stop being afraid, the system loses control over you. This is why true individuation is rare. Most people never try. They spend their whole lives perfecting their mask, making it prettier, more acceptable, hoping that one day the mask will make them feel whole. It won't. The mask was never meant to make you whole. It was meant to make you acceptable. And acceptable people do not have power. When you disappear from the social stage, a terrifying question appears. Who are you when nobody is watching? When there's no audience to impress, no one to please, no validation to receive, most people break. They can't survive without approval. They don't know who they are without someone clapping for them. But if you can sit with that question, if you can tolerate the discomfort, if you can let the mask die without creating a new one right away, everything changes. You stop being a mirror. You become a source. You stop reacting to the world. You start creating your own world. And when you return to society as your real self, raw, unapologetic, uncontrolled, people feel the difference instantly. They can't explain it, but they know you're not playing the old game anymore. You're not trying to fit in. You're operating on a different level. Say it, I am uncontrollable. Say it. 4. Psychic energy and manipulation. Every reaction you give is energy you hand away. Every argument, every emotional reply, every defense, it all drains your power and gives it to the other person. This is how manipulation works. A manipulator doesn't need to be right. They only need you to react. Because once you react, they control the situation. They press a button, you respond. They provoke, you explain. They push, you get emotional. They train you without you knowing. Most people think they're defending themselves or setting boundaries. They're not. They're dancing to someone else's tune. Machiavelli said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot protect himself from wolves." Meaning, you must be smart enough to recognize traps and strong enough to face threats. But the real trap is emotional investment. Manipulators are like psychic vampires. They feed on your reactions, your anger, your frustration, your need to be understood. Every emotional response is food for them. This is why silence destroys them. Not because silence is weak, but because silence is refusal. Refusal to feed them. Refusal to play. Refusal to give them your energy. Watch what happens when you stop reacting. They push harder, they get louder, they try more tricks. Why? Because you removed their food supply. This is emotional starvation, and it's brutal. Manipulators cannot survive without your participation. Their power only exists if you give it to them. Take your energy out of the equation, and they are left shouting into emptiness. This isn't weakness. This is intelligence. This is strategy. Some battles are not meant to be fought, not because you can't win, but because the entire battle is a trap designed to drain you. Real discipline begins when you refuse to play their game at all. Staying silent. Sometimes the hardest thing is keeping quiet when every part of you wants to speak. When someone lies about you, twists your words, makes you look like the villain, your ego wants to correct them, defend yourself, tell everyone the truth. But that's the trap. Manipulators don't care about truth. They want your reaction. The moment you explain, justify, or prove yourself, you show them that their opinion matters, that you need their approval, that they have power over you. Silence removes that power. Strategic silence shows them their words mean nothing to you. You don't need to be understood. You don't need to defend yourself. Their game is not worth your energy. Manipulators hate this. Their whole plan depends on pulling you into drama, making you emotional, making you play by their rules. When you stay silent, you refuse to enter their world. Suddenly, their tactics look weak, obvious, and desperate. When you stop reacting, you stop being a participant. You become an observer. And observers can't be manipulated. The energy you save by not responding is energy you can use for your goals, your peace, your growth. Manipulators drain years from people by keeping them stuck in endless cycles of arguing, explaining, defending. Life passes by while they chase approval that never comes. You break the cycle by seeing it clearly. It's a game you don't have to play. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you build emotional control. You prove to yourself that outside chaos doesn't have to disturb your inner world. Someone else's issues don't have to become yours. This is mastery, not over them, but over yourself, and that's the only real power. Drop this affirmation. Silence starves manipulation. The power of silence. Silence is one of the most misunderstood forms of strength. People think silence means nothing, but silence is actually focused presence. Words can weaken your power. They reveal too much, give others material to twist, create confusion. Silence does the opposite. Silence is a mirror. It shows the truth about the other person. When you stop explaining, when you stop filling every pause, when you let silence sit in the room, people get uncomfortable. They start revealing themselves, their fears, their guilt, their insecurity. They expose everything without you saying a single word. Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Here's the deeper lesson. Silence creates both fear and fascination. People fear what they cannot predict. People admire what they cannot understand. And silence makes you both. People don't understand silence. Most people explain, defend, and justify everything. They need to be understood. You don't, and that scares them. This isn't silent weakness. This isn't shutting down because you have nothing to say. This is intentional silence, a choice to hold back, to let your lack of words hit harder than any speech. Strategic silence has weight. It shows authority. It shows that you don't owe anyone explanations, and that your inner world isn't open to everyone. People want access. They want to know what you're thinking. They want you to talk so they can label you, understand you, control you. Your silence blocks all of that, and that's why it's powerful. Power isn't talking the most. Power is presence. The person who rarely speaks is often the one people listen to. Their words matter because they're not thrown around constantly. Meanwhile, the person who talks non-stop becomes background noise. Silence creates value. It makes your voice rare, and rare things are respected. But strategic silence isn't only about speaking less. It creates emotional and psychological distance. When you stop engaging, people are forced to deal with the space you leave behind. Silence becomes its own language. And unlike words, it can't be twisted or argued with. It simply exists. This makes people uncomfortable. Humans rely on communication to solve problems. We think everything can be fixed by talking, but not everything needs discussion. Some misunderstandings do not need correction. Some conflicts don't deserve your energy. Sometimes talking weakens your position. Silence also protects you. Every word you speak is information others can use to analyze you, accuse you, misunderstand you, or weaponize your vulnerability. Silence gives them nothing to attack. People will try to break your silence. They'll call you cold, distant, manipulative, or unfair. Let them talk. Their reaction says more about them than about you. Secure people aren't threatened by silence. Confident people don't need constant explanations. Only those who depended on your emotional reactions get upset when you stop giving them any. Your silence exposes their tactics. It shows how much power they got from dragging you into arguments you never needed to join. And when you simply stop responding, without warning, without explanation, their whole strategy falls apart. Because silence removes the fuel they relied on. When you stay silent, people are left arguing with nothing, and nobody wins against silence. This is power without fighting, dominance without aggression. Machiavelli would approve. Affirmation: my silence speaks. 6. Conscious unavailability. There's a phrase that needs to disappear. I'm always here if you need me. It sounds kind, but it destroys you. When you make yourself available all the time, people don't value you. They use you. They come to you when they need something and forget you when they don't. People think being available makes them important. They believe the more they give, the more others will appreciate them. But life doesn't work like that. Human psychology follows simple economics. Anything that is everywhere has no value. Anything rare becomes valuable. Your time, attention, and presence lose their worth when they're unlimited. But when you make them limited, they become precious. Conscious unavailability means you choose to be less accessible, not because you're avoiding people, but because you understand this truth. Access to you must be earned, not assumed. Machiavelli said, "Never appear too common." It's not about acting superior, it's about maintaining your value. When you're always available, people stop seeing your support as a gift and start seeing it as your duty. And then something happens. The day you can't be available, they get upset. Why? Because they got used to taking from you without giving anything back. Conscious unavailability stops this cycle. It sets a clear message from the start: your time has conditions. Respect is required. Reciprocity matters. This isn't selfish, it's self-respect, the foundation of real power. When you become intentionally unavailable, people treat you differently. They can't just reach out whenever they want. They have to think before they ask. They have to consider whether they've earned your time. This naturally filters your life. The users and takers leave. Good, let them go. The people who stay are the ones who value you. They understand your presence is meaningful, not guaranteed, but here's the uncomfortable part. Being consciously unavailable means disappointing people. It means saying no. It means letting some opportunities pass. Some will call you selfish or distant. Let them talk. The alternative is far worse. Being available to everyone except yourself. Every yes to others is sometimes a no to your own needs. Every time you show up for everyone else, you abandon your own goals. This isn't kindness, it's slow self-destruction. Conscious unavailability gives your life back to you. It says, your time belongs to you first. Your energy is yours to protect. Your presence is something you choose to give, not something others get by default. When you live this way, people change how they treat you. They stop demanding and start appreciating. Not because you gave a speech about it, but because your actions showed it. Some people will adjust, some won't, and the ones who don't, they were never meant to stay. Some people will keep pushing, demanding, and expecting you to bend. These people are teaching you something important. They don't respect you. They respect what they can get from you. The moment you protect your time and energy, their true intentions show. It was never about you. It was about access to your resources. This is the purpose of conscious unavailability. It reveals who values you and who only values what you provide. That difference matters. A life full of takers leaves you empty even if you're surrounded by people. They don't see you as a person. They see you as a tool. Conscious unavailability stops this. It protects your energy. It makes your presence meaningful again. It makes your time valuable again. It turns you into someone worth earning, not someone always there for free. Here's the strange part. When you become less available, the quality of your relationships improves. People become more present, more intentional, more appreciative. They don't waste your time because they know your time isn't endless. Scarcity creates value. Abundance creates carelessness. This applies to your relationship with yourself too. When you protect your time, when you regularly disconnect from the world, you finally create space to think, to breathe, to build, to exist without performing. You stop reacting to everything and start shaping your own life. That isn't selfish, it's sanity. Affirmation: access to me is earned. 7. Rebirth through solitude. Solitude scares most people, not because it hurts, but because it reveals truth. When you're truly alone, no noise, no distractions, no constant input, you're forced to face yourself, your real thoughts, your ignored memories, the gap between who you are and who you meant to be. Most people avoid solitude because they're afraid they won't like what they discover, so they fill every second with noise, social media, messages, videos, music, anything to avoid silence. But solitude isn't punishment. Solitude is cleansing. Time alone burns away the masks, the fake identities, the conditioning, the beliefs you borrowed from others. What's left is the real you. Machiavelli said men are driven by love or fear, but there's another drive he understood indirectly, the drive to be authentic. The desire to become who you actually are, not who others expect you to be. That transformation only happens in solitude. Society acts like a mirror that shows you a distorted version of yourself, the version that fits in, that pleases others, that doesn't threaten anyone. Solitude shatters that mirror. Without outside opinions, you must define yourself from the inside. You decide your worth. You decide your identity. This process is hard. Most people quit quickly. They tell themselves they're lonely, that isolation is unhealthy, that they need more connection. But what they really want is escape from self-reflection. Real solitude isn't about being physically alone. You can be in a crowd and still be in solitude if you withdraw your emotional energy and stop seeking approval. This is the loneliness of the strong, the choice to separate yourself from the herd, to think differently, to pursue goals others don't understand, to become someone society didn't plan for. It's lonely because you're no longer playing the same game. You're not chasing the same rewards. You're not following the same rules. You're on your own path, and that's exactly where rebirth happens. People will say you've changed. They'll call you cold, distant, different, and they're right. You're not who you used to be because you let that old version of yourself die in solitude. The old you, the one who tried to please everyone, who wanted to fit in, who needed approval, that version had to go. Solitude is like a furnace. You go in soft, you come out harder, sharper, stronger, but the process is uncomfortable. You'll doubt yourself. You'll wonder if pulling away was a mistake. You'll feel the urge to return to the old life. Don't. That urge is just your need for validation, pretending to be connection. Stay with the discomfort. Let it teach you. Because on the other side of that discomfort is real freedom. The kind where you don't need anyone's opinion to know your worth. The kind where you stop living through other people's approval and start living from your own mind. Solitude forces you to face yourself. You'll see your weaknesses, your excuses, your unhealthy patterns, but you'll also see your strength, your potential, the parts of you that were buried under other people's expectations. This rebuilding takes time, months, maybe years. You'll lose people along the way, people who liked the older, softer version of you, people who benefited from your constant availability. Let them go. They were never your people. The ones who stay, or the ones you attract after your transformation, will be different. They will respect your boundaries, your time, your energy, not because you asked, but because your presence now has value. The person who comes out of solitude is not the same person who entered it. They are calmer, smarter, more focused. They don't chase approval. They don't fear criticism. They don't fold under pressure. They've learned to trust themselves. This is what Machiavelli meant by being both lion and fox. Solitude gives you the strength of a lion and the intelligence of a fox. When you return to the world, people feel the difference. You don't explain yourself. You don't try to be understood. You exist with quiet power. Your ability to disappear becomes a weapon. People know access to you is not guaranteed. That makes your presence valuable. You've learned the real truth. Power doesn't come from being everywhere. It comes from being selective. And now, with everything you understand, the next step is simple. Disappear strategically. Pull back, protect your time. Stop explaining yourself. Stop giving energy to people who drain you. Watch what happens next. Some will panic, some will get angry, some will fade away. Good. The ones who stay through your silence are the ones who truly value you. The old version of you, the one who said yes to everything, who needed approval, who lived small, is gone. What replaces it is someone stronger, quieter, harder to manipulate, and impossible to control, someone the world cannot ignore.